JD, and this is Upfront and Personal. You might have heard the rule that you shouldn't try to solve factory challenges with office solutions. And although that is a very valid rule, we also need to explore how digital transformation can bring benefits to factories and industrial environments. During our virtual roundtables, industry leaders and decision makers asked a lot of questions and wanted to know if industrial cloud is feasible. I invited Jan Mentzer, AWS solution specialist for manufacturing, and asked him these questions. And what better time to do that than during the AWS reInvent? Upfront and personal. Jan Metzner, welcome to Upfront and Personal, and thank you for taking your time during AWS reInvent. I know you're very busy, so I want to jump into the questions and give you the opportunity to provide answers. Let's start with question 1. When we discuss cloud in manufacturing, there's an enormous focus on and maybe even fear for availability and latency. Is this a realistic concern with today's technology? And what solutions are available for manufacturing?
Yeah, Johannes, that's a very good topic. I mean, if you think about manufacturing, you want to continuously produce your goods and products. So obviously, latency, but especially the reliability on the connection, is something that is very important. It's not only important if you use some pieces of the manufacturing infrastructure in the cloud. It's generally important, but how would you move your orders that are going from your ERP to the factory without having an internet connection? So actually what is happening is that the cloud is coming to you, to the edge. So it's not like you need to add something more. It's more like the cloud is already expanding to the edge and even further down. And we are here at reInvent, so we just released actually a service called AWS Cloud One to connect manufacturing sites, to connect office sites to AWS. We have with AWS Outposts form factors that you put hardware at the edge locations itself. So in your factory, we have the general availability of Outposts, smaller form factors, which is even good for smaller manufacturing sites. So yes, it's a valid concern because if you're controlling machines, you need to do that. But on the other hand, we have the infrastructure, we have all the products available to do that. You usually have, let's say, a hybrid approach that you do some pieces locally, e.g. controlling the machine or sending machine information. So what kind of orders you're doing locally, but still the majority, what you run today in the factory on IT infrastructure, that can run in the cloud, especially those spiky things that you don't need usually if you run reports and something like that. And in that way, you can overcome this fear because you will be able to produce all the time, even if you don't have internet connectivity sporadically.
Thank you for this useful and pragmatic answer, Jan. Let's skip to question number 2. Medium-sized companies, especially in the manufacturing segment, are used to working with annual budgets and an allocation, depreciation, investment structure. What are the benefits of digital transformation, which includes a subscription model, and how can customers manage these costs?
Yeah, that's another thing that we got asked a lot of times from both sides, from people that want to use cloud and don't know how to do that because they're used to just buy hardware, but more on the topic of innovation, because you want to be agile, you want to try out things, you want to use services, and if you don't use them, you don't want to pay for it. So if you switch it into pay-per-use model, you can experiment. You will be agile and do new stuff and try it out. On the other hand, you have a lot of spiky workloads, which traditionally, you would need to buy a lot of hardware to serve that. And with the cloud, you can just pay per use, and you just use it when you need that. And you will not pay anything if you don't need it. Think about reporting end of the month in a factory or in a general manufacturing environment. A lot of this doesn't need to run all the time. So it purely makes sense to not have that constantly running, but just use it when you need it. And without it, yeah, you don't need it. Obviously, you need to have some cost control, and we have all the tools to do cost control over what you need. You have budgets and so on, so that you can plan of how much you want to consume. But still, it's more important that you have flexibility, and you can then focus on the innovation portion and not just purely on the financing part.
I really appreciate that focus on innovation. How important is it for customer to focus on innovation and transformation and not just pack and drop whatever they are using at the moment into a cloud environment?
Well, if you just pack the application, move it to the cloud, yes, it can run more efficient there, for sure. But you're missing actually the new things that you could do with the cloud, where you drive and add more applications, more innovation topics to that. And if you just have the static services that you run on premises and move it to the cloud, you're missing the innovation portion. So you need to open it up at least a little bit, so you can add some more data points, you add more applications that can work with the data. And with that, you're opening up to more teams using the data and using all of that. So that's why you need to change the applications a little bit. That doesn't mean you need to scrap all of it, but yes, there's a need of transformation, and it's not only a technical transformation, it's also a transformation of the people working with the application itself. So don't forget about that one as well.
Well, you're definitely singing my song there. As I always say, digital transformation is not just about technology. It's far more important to transform also mindsets and to develop people within that transformation and allow them to grow with the innovations that you are developing and creating. Let's go to question number 3. Manufacturing companies have embarked for the sustainability and durability journey. Investments are made in reducing carbon emissions and preventing pollution. How does digital transformation fit in this journey?
First of all, our infrastructure is 3.6 times more energy efficient than what you have on premises. Okay, so in just moving workloads to the cloud, you will be more energy efficient. But you need to think further, right? For example, our SVP for the AWS infrastructure, Peter DeSantis, said last year at reInvent, the greenest energy is the energy you don't use, which actually goes back to the question we had earlier on spiky workloads. Yeah? So if you can actually reduce what you are using without the need of the infrastructure itself, then you are even greener, okay? And on the other hand, all the new machine learning services we offer gives you the ability to optimize your manufacturing processes in order to reduce waste, reduce energy, and optimize it exactly for what you need to produce, in which time you need to produce. So reducing the speed of the machines, if you don't need to run it at full speed, something like that. So there's a lot of things you can do out of the box with just adding advanced analytics and machine learning to the processes that you're already driving.
I fully agree with you on that, Jan. To be able to understand where the waste is, you first have to learn where the waste is, and then you need to learn what the corrective actions are. I have a wonderful use case on my website, and I will of course share that link with this video. We looked at a melting facility for aluminum, and we tried to optimize how the holding furnaces are being filled. One of the things we identified very quickly is that there are a lot of assumptions, and those assumptions are, well, not true as soon as we start analyzing the data. And by eliminating these assumptions and instead analyze information with machine learning, we learned that there was a lot of waste which we were not aware of. And by addressing that, we started to create real improvements. But that was only the beginning, because as soon as we had figured out how we can address the waste that we discovered and how can we create a model that just keeps learning and improving, we also needed to figure out how we can bring this model to all the other facilities spread around the world. And these different facilities also have different parameters. Adding that all up, the best solution was a cloud-based machine learning model, so that's what we implemented.
Well, it's in general true that a lot of decisions are made not on data, but just on gut feeling. So once you get the data points together, especially from the different silos you see in manufacturing, because you have a silo on the OT side, on the IT side, it all is disconnected. So if you bring that together, have a visibility, and on top of that, machine learning and advanced analytics, maybe sometimes just statistics, will give you the insights to do the right decisions. Yeah? And as you said, I mean, if you have more than one manufacturing plant, which is usually the case, you can just scale it because it's a one-time effort to do that. You just need to get the data in, and immediately you have a better insight and can steer your production.
I couldn't agree more, and that is definitely one of the core strengths of cloud-based technology, and that also applies to industrial cloud, of course. Let's go to question number 4, and that happens to be one of my favorite topics, which I also use a lot in my workshops and keynotes on cybersecurity for manufacturing and industrial environments. About 80% of the current manufacturing capacity is not built in this century. Is it possible to develop digital transformation concepts for decades-old equipment and infrastructure?
That's a good topic, and this is what we are facing all the time. Yeah, and to be honest, also Amazon itself runs in their fulfillment centers old PLCs and so on. So that's a common topic. How do you integrate with older equipment? Yeah, how do you integrate with equipment that has no digital input or outputs? Yeah. So yes, there are connectors that you can build your own. There are ready-made connectors that you can use on the technology side, on the gateways to connect to those machines that you can connect to. But think about, for example, the conveyor belts in an Amazon fulfillment centers. The motors they are not connected. So last year at re:Invent, we released Amazon Monitron, which is a service which has hardware, sensors, and a gateway, which you can just plug in on the machine, and you will immediately get temperature and vibration data. And you have an end-to-end service that will give you a warning ahead of time when something is changing, when the machine learning model that is trained on your data thinks, okay, something is not normal, okay? So with that, you can actually already connect to machines and do actually a digital transformation without changing anything on the machine. Similar, for example, an Australian customer called Woodside, they are looking at the oil levels on the machine. So they just position a camera in front of the gauge that is showing the oil level. And then there's a machine learning algorithm that just captures, okay, what is the oil level? So you're interfacing just with a camera image to the machine itself. So all of that is possible. You just need to think it through. It's not that you need to rebuild all the machines and so on. You can do that. You just need to find intelligent ways to do that. And then again, like we talked beforehand, you have all the data and can do the right decisions, can send the technicians to the right places and don't need to have them running around all the time.
I really appreciate the pragmatic examples, especially the conveyor, because the conveyor is basically the aorta of a factory, and all the parts moving through that factory are moved by that conveyor. And small changes in vibrations or in energy consumption could be an indication that something is about to happen, but there's so many variations that it's impossible for human beings to monitor and analyze that all the time. Machine learning can do that job in the background and give the right information to indicate that preventive maintenance might be needed. That was a great example. And with that, it's also time to move to question number 5. What benefits do digital twins offer in manufacturing for mid-sized companies?
Well, digital twins, first of all, need to be sure, okay, what is a digital twin? Usually what we're talking when we're talking about a digital twin is really having all the data that is currently the machines are producing, or the products that are produced on the manufacturing line. All these data points are available, plus all the data that is coming from other data silos. So digital twin is also a concept to just bring data together. But the really benefit is, especially if you're producing your own goods, hey, you have now the ability to simulate also what is happening. It's not only having a real-time insight of what is happening, but you can actually change things and redrive it on a simulation to see what would happen if I change that. And furthermore, let's see, you have produced something and you want to go back. You have an issue from customer support. You can actually look at the data, not only at some data points, and all the data points that are connected to producing this specific product, and how something might have interfered to make something not working properly. And then this makes it happen to focus on optimizing your production processes, your lines, as well as driving actually into a digital driven manufacturing process where you just do the decisions on really data points because you have all the data available. And if you think about, especially in automotive, for example, you have a lot cycle one. Okay, so every product is actually a unique product. That makes even more challenges. And we see that also with smaller companies, where you need to have really the total insight of what is happening, because otherwise it's very hard to optimize your production processes if you only have a few data points available and you cannot correlate them.
Those are great examples of what digital twins can do for us. As I always explain during workshops and keynotes, we need to stop responding to the past and instead start managing the future. But to be able to do so, we need a lot of information, we need data points. The challenge is that the correlations between all those data points are so overwhelming that a human being is simply not able to manage and analyze that all at once. And that is where digital twins and advanced technology comes in, and that is where digital transformation is going to make a difference. Jan, thank you very much for taking time during AWS reInvent. I know you're very busy and have a full schedule with customers, with partners, etc., etc. So thank you for taking your time today, and hope to see you soon on Upfront and Personal.
Thanks, it was a pleasure talking to you.
The stage has been set. All preparations are made. The challenge is accepted. Critical questions, real answers, cybersecurity, geopolitics, economy, sustainability. Question everything. Challenge the status quo and dare to see beyond the headlines. This is Upfront and Personal, with tough questions and real answers.
Dr. Ingenieur Johannes Droger.